Hello, everybody, and welcome to Between the Bumps Professional Wrestling Podcast, the pro wrestling podcast where we go between the bumps in the ring to discuss match quality, storylines, wrestling news, and even make predictions in the world of professional wrestling and sports entertainment. I'm your host, Christian Marrero. Thank you for tuning in. What is up, everybody? Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Between the Bumps AEW Dynamite review show. So, I'm going to address something before I get into Dynamite, and if any of you are watching, you might have noticed that on Tuesday, there was no new episode of the podcast. I did not review Raw, and on Monday, there was no review for Backlash. I addressed this on my Twitter, but I want to address it here, just make myself clear. Also, let me just say, if you hear any noises outside or you hear the TV on, I'm very sorry. There's a bunch of cars driving by. I'm kind of recording this at a bad time. Usually I record it later in the day when there's less pandemonium going on. And my father-in-law, he is deaf. Like really deaf, so he can't hear the TV unless it is just blasting. So if you hear that in the background, I am sorry. I will reiterate, I don't have microphones. I don't have any kind of studio setup. I'm recording this on a smartphone, on an iPhone. So I just wanted to get that out of the way. But as some of you may have noticed, there was no show on Monday for Backlash, and there was no show on Tuesday for Raw. And there is a reason for this. The reason being, I did not watch those shows. And the reason I did not watch those shows is because I was not interested in watching those shows. Now with Backlash, there were certain things I was interested in seeing, but the go-home shows, they didn't sell me on watching the pay-per-view. I really didn't care to watch that pay-per-view. I've heard good things about The Edge and Randy Orton stuff. I've heard some ridiculous things regarding the Street Profits, Viking Raiders, and Akira Tozawa and some ninjas. And here's the thing. I'm cool with negatively criticizing something. That's not the problem. I don't mind, taking a negative stance on something if it deserves to have a negative stance taken on it. But the thing is, I'm not invested in those shows. If I'm going to criticize something, especially negative, I should be invested. I should be interested. And I feel like if I'm not interested, if I'm not invested, then I'm doing a big disservice. I'm just shitting on it for the sake of shitting on it. And I never want to be that guy. Because I do love pro wrestling. And I do love WWE. Even if that is a controversial or unpopular opinion. I love WWE. So I never want to shit on them just for the sake of shitting on them. And when it comes to Backlash, they did not do enough to get me interested in watching that show. They didn't. And I don't want to sit here and negatively criticize a show when I know that that's probably my own bias, because I know that in ring the matches were probably good and the quality was probably good. It's just that if I'm disinterested in it, I'm not going to shit on it just because I'm disinterested. I will just say flat out that I am not interested and move on. That's how I am. So regarding Backlash, that was the case. I just was not interested in that show. I had no desire to watch it. And then regarding Raw, the thing is, not that I'm not interested in Raw, because a lot of good things are happening on Raw right now. There's Asuka. Asuka is an MVP in my book every week. Drew McIntyre is doing a great job. The Rey Mysterio, Seth Rollins stuff is awesome. But watching a 3-hour show, it gets exhausting. And I'm not even talking about in terms of doing a podcast, taking notes. Even before I started the podcast, I would take periodic breaks from Raw. I would just stop watching Raw altogether because it gets very exhausting and it starts to feel like a job to watch wrestling. And I never want something that I'm so passionate about to feel like a job. So for now, I am on a small break from Raw. I will start watching Raw eventually. Something will catch my attention to the point where I'm like, okay, I gotta see that. Honestly, it almost happened when I found out Christian returned this week. But here's my thing regarding that. They're doing that because Raw's ratings are slipping. They're not doing that because they have something amazing and compelling for Christian. They're not doing that because, it's the best thing for business. They're doing that because their ratings are slipping. And they're trying to bank on a nostalgia run for Christian. So, more power to Christian. I think it's awesome that he's returning, and I hope he returns long term so that I can see him in some more matches with some really young up and coming talent. But right now we're doing a Christian Randy Orton feud, and I'm not interested. With Edge, I was interested because they had a lot of history there. But then they tried selling this as the greatest wrestling match ever, and I knew it wasn't going to be. I lost my interest. Even though the match, from what I've heard, was amazing. It was really good. And also, just want to wish a very speedy recovery to Edge. And I hope he gets better. He tore his tricep, and that sucks. I hope he gets better. I hope he returns to our screens very, very pronto. I love Edge, and I never want to see that dude suffering. Now, I'm going to address another thing. I'm changing the format up a little bit here. I am still going to review AEW Dynamite, but I am no longer going to do play-by-play for the matches. The reason being, I had a friend of mine listen to one of my podcasts, and they came to me and they're like, listen, Christian, I really like the podcast, it's cool, but I get really bored when you start going play-by-play and saying things that me as a casual I don't understand. And I watched the match. I know what happened. I just want to hear your thoughts on it. I don't want to hear play-by-play. I get play-by-play on the show from Jim Ross, Excalibur, and Tony Schiavone. I want you to explain to me why you liked or disliked the match more in depth. Because he told me that he feels I do a lot of play-by-play, but I do very little analysis of how I enjoyed the match, why I didn't enjoy the match, and so we're going to shift focus. I'm not going to do play-by-play anymore. There's no need for me to do play-by-play. If you're that interested in the match, you can go back and watch it. So, I'm shifting gears a little bit. I'm taking that criticism. It was constructive. I appreciate him. And so, we are going to move forward, and we're going to move forward a little differently. I hope you guys still enjoy it. And it's honestly going to be easier for me because I don't have to take such rigorous notes. I don't have to focus on that. I can more focus on what I really liked about the match. So let's get right into Dynamite. This week's Dynamite was a really good show. I enjoyed it very, very much. They improved upon a lot of things that I was seeing them, not cracks in the system, but things that I foresaw becoming a problem. So we start with the AEW Tag Team Championship match. It is Kenny Omega and Hangman Page, the champions, defending against the Natural Nightmares, Dustin Rhodes and QT Marshall, Brandy Rhodes in the corner. And it was a good match. It was a great match. It made no sense as to why we're having this match, because it seems like everyone except the number one contenders are getting their shot at the tag team champions. Best Friends won the number one contendership at Double or Nothing, and yet every other team has come in and gotten a shot at the titles before Best Friends got a shot at the titles. And the Natural Nightmares just haven't done enough to convince me that, hey, they deserve that title shot. So, it didn't make sense, but the match was great. The match was really good. I think this was a good pairing of teams just because QT Marshall's very athletic. There's no getting around it. But he lacks character. He doesn't really have a personality. They're trying to give him a character with his whole Allie relationship thing, and they're playing on that, but he lacks personality. Right now, he is just a good wrestler. Dustin Rhodes, however, is an amazing character. He's one of the best characters in all of pro wrestling history. Need I remind you of Goldust, a character that for all intents and purposes should not have worked, and it was over for multiple decades because Dustin Rhodes is absolutely amazing. So yeah, what QT Marshall lacks as a character, Dustin Rhodes makes up for in his character, and what Dustin now lacks athletically, QT Marshall makes up for it. And Kenny Omega and Hangman Page are both amazing in the ring. So they're able to put on a great match with anybody. You could give them a team of broomsticks, and they're going to put on an amazing match. I've literally seen Kenny Omega put on an entertaining match with a dummy, with a plushy human thing. So, yeah, Kenny can put on a match with anything. He can make anybody look good, and that's what he did here for Dustin. They had one little moment where they seemed to have headbutt as Kenny was trying to flip over Dustin in the corner, but it was a great match. It was really good. It wasn't as good as the match against Kip Sabian and Jimmy Havoc, but the match was still really good, still very enjoyable. The finish came because there were a lot of false finishes where you thought maybe QT and Dustin could pick up the win. But the finish actually came when Allie came out to the ring, and Allie distracted QT Marshall, and QT gets caught, and he gets pinned. So the winners of the match, and still your AEW Tag Team Champions, are Kenny Omega and Hangman Page. I think that's a great idea. I obviously would not want Natural Nightmares to be the champions, considering it didn't even make sense that they were in this match to begin with. And because I want to see Kenny Omega and Hangman Page versus the Best Friends. I think that could be another best tag team match ever candidate. Because for me right now, best tag team match I have ever seen in my life is Kenny Omega and Hangman Page versus the Young Bucks at Revolution. That match was killer. That match is what convinced me of tag team wrestling, because I've never been a big tag team wrestling fan, but that match changed my mind. So I think that Kenny Omega, Hangman Page, and the Best Friends can put on a 6-star match if they are given the chance. So that is a match from Fyter Fest that I would not want to lose. So of course, champions had to, they had to retain here. Then we had a video package for Anna Jay. Anna Jay is making her, this isn't her Dynamite debut, but like they really played up to the fact that, hey, it's Anna Jay tonight. Anna Jay is going to be in action. They promoted it last week. They promoted it on social media. Anna Jay, it's going to be Anna Jay. They cut this promo, or like this video package for Anna Jay before the match about her talking how she wants to be a superstar. She wants to steal the show. That's why she calls herself the star of the show. And it's always been her dream ever since she got into pro wrestling in middle school. Just a whole bunch of stuff. And they put her against Abaddon. And Abaddon wins, which was an odd choice for me. At least it was until the finish of the match. I was confused. I was like, why are you going to promote Anna Jay as hard as y'all have and then job her out? Well, there was a reason. The reason being that after she lost the match to a basement Hurricanrana, the Dark Order comes out and they pick up Anna Jay. And now it seems that we're incorporating some women into the Dark Order. And I think Anna Jay is a fine choice for that. Because one, she's young, she's good looking, and to see a girl like her interact with Brody Lee, I don't know much about her character work, but if we see Brody Lee go all megalomaniac on her, you'll really be like, wow, this guy's crazy. It'll garner a lot of hatred towards Brody Lee, and some sympathy for Anna Jay when she eventually does leave the group. Now, I will address this about Abaddon, and I don't want people to take this like I am shitting on Abaddon. I like Abaddon, but I do think she needs to tone it down just a little bit. Just a smidge. Like, don't get rid of the gimmick. The gimmick is great, and she's playing the gimmick great, and she's great in the ring. But I get so distracted by her look that it really takes away from the match. Your look should enhance your position in the match, and I don't feel her look does that. It takes away from the match. Personally, for me, because she's just a little too rattling looking. She looks a little too messed up and creepy, to where I'm not thinking about what's happening in the ring. I'm thinking about, why does she look like that? And that's all I can think about. So I think, like, keep the gimmick, but tone it down a little bit. Like, look at The Undertaker. Undertaker is the best supernatural gimmick, the best gimmick in all of existence, in all of history. And yeah, he comes out dressed in black, long black coat, for his entrance. But in the match, he's in a singlet type getup with some long pants, his MMA gloves, maybe some eyeliner, and his black hair. And it works. It's okay to be a little more simple than this. I get too caught up in how Abaddon looks that I stop focusing on what she is doing in the ring. And it's really unfortunate because she is very talented. So if I was Abaddon, I would tone it down just a little bit. Not completely. Don't get rid of this gimmick. I'm not saying that. Keep with the creepy, keep with this, but tone it down just a little bit. You don't have to look that creepy, because it does take away from what you're doing in the ring. And that shouldn't be the case. Like, okay, I'll give you this example, and don't behead me for using this example. Giant Gonzalez. The only thing that dude could do was look big and look weird in a weird fur air spray bodysuit thing. Like, that's all he was good for. He was not a good wrestler. Great Khali was not a good wrestler. But their looks got them by. You are distracted by their looks so much so that you're not focused on what they're doing in the ring. Now, the same thing is happening to Abaddon, but she actually is a good wrestler, and she is good in the ring. So you see what I'm saying here? I think she should tone it down just a little bit. That's just my opinion. That is just my opinion. I think she looks a little too horror for me. For me personally, I get distracted by her look, and not in the good way. I just can't stop thinking like, man, I wish she didn't look like that. Because it does, like, it's hard for me to focus solely on the match, which is what I should be focusing on more than anything. Like, it's fine to focus on her look somewhat, and it's cool for pictures and stuff, but in the ring, the in-ring action should be primordial. And right now, I feel like her look takes center stage instead of the match taking center stage. So, that's one thing. But the match was good. Then we had Billy Gunn taking on MJF. And this match is amazing. This match was great. This match was fun. It was funny. It was hilarious. It was hard-hitting. It was impactful. Billy Gunn, he looks like $1 million, even with his age. Like, that dude looks huge. He is huge. And he looks good. Like, and he looked good in the ring. He actually looked good in the ring. Like, yeah, sure, he's just doing big man stuff, but sometimes just big man stuff is okay. Especially in AEW where we don't get a lot of it. He really stood out because he's one of the only big men working a big man style. You know, like Wardlow works a big man style, but he's a little more athletic than Billy Gunn in terms of what he does. Luchasaurus doesn't really work a big man style. He works this weird hybrid style of a big man style and then a cool martial artist style. And then Brian Cage is just a freak athlete, and all he does is remind you of like, hey, I'm a freak athlete and you should know that I'm a freak athlete. Whereas with Billy Gunn, it's like a classic wrestling big man. And then you have MJF, who is much smaller than Billy Gunn and a heel, and he just works it awesome. It was just a great match. Like, at one point, MJF left the ring, and Billy comes carrying MJF over his shoulder like a child having a temper tantrum. And, like, they have great chemistry. These two guys had really great chemistry in the ring. They really did. But MJF, he hits Billy Gunn with the diamond ring, hides it in his pants. And, like, speaking of MJF's pants, I'm going to reiterate what my girlfriend said last night. Get that man a cup. Get MJF a cup. Every week on Dynamite when he is in a match, in his little tights, we can see his penis tip. I see it. I see the outline of his penis clearly, and it's not even a big penis. It's like average sized at best. And it's funny, and it really distracts people. Like, my girlfriend every week comments on it, and it's not a good comment like, ooh, look at the penis. No, it's like, why the fuck can I see this man's penis? Get him a cup. Get him a cup. Tony Khan, if you are listening to this, if someone can get this to Tony Khan, make MJF wear a cup. No one wants to see his little dick tip sticking out during a match. Nobody. But anyways, he hits Billy Gunn with the diamond ring. Gets the 1, 2, 3. MJF wins. It's the right call. He's the best heel in the business right now. Honestly, maybe that's why he has his dick poking out like that. Because it garners more heel heat. I don't know. Get that man a cup. Get him a cup. So, then, as MJF and Wardlow are leaving the ring, they go and they confront Jungle Boy, Luchasaurus, and Marco Stunt, Jurassic Express in the front row. And they all start having a big brawl. You know, Marco Stunt and Luchasaurus start jumping Wardlow, and Jungle Boy and MJF are fighting, which that's a great feud. I really do think that they should follow up on that feud. First off, I am dying to see Luchasaurus versus Wardlow one-on-one. That's going to be a great match. Those two dudes are so big. Like, so scarily big. And, like, they look even bigger than what they are. Like, Luchasaurus is 6'5" or 6'6". Wardlow's about the same, 6'5", 6'6". But both of them look way bigger than that. I've always said Luchasaurus is the biggest 6'5" guy I've ever seen in my life. Even bigger than Drew McIntyre. And I've seen 6'5" dudes. Luchasaurus makes all other 6'5" dudes look tiny. And then Wardlow is like Brian Cage in the fact that he just looks like an old school G.I. Joe action figure. He's just so jacked. I want to see those two dudes go at it, and I would kill to see MJF and Jungle Boy go at it another time, because the last time they went at it, it was a great match. So, then we have a backstage interview with Les Sex Gods, and Jericho pretty much explains why he's been attacking Orange Cassidy. He says like, hey, Orange Cassidy wants attention? Well, this is what happens when you try to get attention at the expense of the Inner Circle, okay? And he's like, and you know what? Tonight, me and Sammy Guevara, we're going to beat the Best Friends. We're going to get that title shot because we're blood brothers. And blood is thicker than orange juice. So, then Tony Schiavone goes to interview Britt Baker. And all through the night, Britt Baker was sending notes to Tony Schiavone on this weird little clothesline pulley system setup that they had. And Tony gets pissed because, Britt gets pissed at Tony because Tony mentions that another woman is rising in the ranks. And she's like, why would you even say that? Why would you even talk about that woman to me? I think he was talking about Penelope Ford. And Britt gets pissed about this. She's pissed. And so she calls for Reba, the woman that's been taking care of her, to drive off in the golf cart. Like, we gotta go. We gotta go. But Reba is not behind the wheel. Big Swole is behind the wheel. Big Swole kidnapped Britt Baker. Me and my girlfriend were laughing the whole way through. I love Big Swole. Big Swole cracks me up. Big Swole is great. And I think she is the perfect character to bounce off of Britt Baker's character right now. I love Britt Baker. I've said it before on this podcast. She's been my highlight of the week, which I didn't do last week. I'm sorry. I'm actually going to do 2 highlights this week. I promise. So, I like this feud. I like it. I think it's a good feud. I can't wait till Britt Baker is able to wrestle again and her and Big Swole go at it. I think they're going to put on a great match. It was a funny segment. It was a really funny segment for Big Swole to just abduct Britt Baker. And there's more on that later, in fact. Then, Cody makes his entrance. He is going to be defending his TNT Championship again. And it was not the main event, which I think was the right call. I said it last week. If Cody Rhodes keeps putting himself in the main event, not putting himself, Tony Khan has confirmed he books the matches, He books the shows. Cody does not book the shows. But if Cody continues to be in the main event every single week, people are going to get pissed at him. And they're going to sour on him very quickly. And we don't need that right now. So we come back from a commercial break, and Cody is in the ring, and he's like, look, I don't have Kenny, I don't have Hangman, I don't have the Bucks, none of them are on my side anymore. They're all busy doing other things. Am I even in the Elite anymore? He's like, but you know what? That's neither here nor there. I'm going to let Arn Anderson talk. And so Grandpa Arn, I'm also petitioning, let's call him Grandpa Arn, because he just gives off those good grandpa vibes, doesn't he? I think he does. So Grandpa Arn gets on the microphone, and he says, look, sometimes you gotta listen to that little voice in your head. He's like, look, I know Jake Hager and Cody Rhodes are gonna go at it. And I know Cody Rhodes can beat Jake Hager. But timing is everything. Timing is everything. And the timing tonight is not right. Tonight is not Jake Hager's night. And then we see Hager watching on a monitor backstage. Which, like, props to AEW for not doing that weird thing where, like, the wrestler stood facing forward, but they're kind of side-eyeing the TV. Like, no, they put the TV at an angle to where the wrestler can watch it, and we can see their reactions. And they can watch it like a normal person. So props to you, AEW. So, now, Arn goes on to continue, and he says, look, I have scouted a great person for Cody to face tonight. I've scouted a great talent. He is rising up. He is none other than the NWA, or he was none other than the NWA television champion, Ricky Stark. And so Stark cuts a promo, and he says, look, I've slept in my car. I've slept on floors. I've had a few bucks to my name. I've made it from the ground up. And I have the two things that you have, Cody. You say that you put anyone on that track field and you'll outrun them regardless of talent. Well, I have the same two things you do. I have grit and I have work ethic. The same two things that make Cody Rhodes successful is the same thing Ricky Starks have. So Ricky Starks come out and they put on a great match tonight. They put on a great match that night. They really did. Ricky Starks, he is a very talented pro wrestler. Make no doubt about it. That dude is awesome. So far, I still think Jungle Boy versus Cody has been the best because it was a perfect mix of storytelling and athleticism. But this one was really good. This was a really good open challenge. I was on the edge of my seat the whole time. And, like, it does make it interesting that Ricky Starks is, you know, they said he signed with AEW, but then they kept mentioning on the show that he's a free agent. They're trying to play to that fact that anyone can take this open challenge. Anyone from New Japan, Ring of Honor, anywhere. It's not just for AEW wrestlers. So that was a cool thing that they continued playing on. And it was a good match. It really was. These two men put on a great match together. Once again, you could probably give Cody a broomstick and he can tell an amazing story. And Ricky Starks is super athletic. He's super athletic, super talented. But of course, who else was going to win? Who else was going to win? Cody Rhodes wins. Cody Rhodes can't lose that title right now, especially not when we're trying to build to him and Jake Hager at Fyter Fest, which is a match I'm very excited about. So Cody Rhodes wins. He hits the crossroads, gets the pinfall. Ricky Starks, though, he looked great in loss, which that's the whole point of pro wrestling. That guy is super talented. I'm super glad that he is in the AEW fold. Then we had another tag team match, which they were paced out a lot better throughout the night, because there were multiple tag team matches throughout the night, but they weren't just back to back to back to back. We had the Super Bad Death Squad, which is, like, they said, okay, here's where I'm confused. They said last week that they're called the Super Bad Death Squad, but then this week they came out and were introduced as the Super Bad Squad. Either way, it's Kip Sabian and Jimmy Havoc. I don't know what their name is. They changed. They flip-flop. With Penelope Ford, of course, taking on the Young Bucks. This match was really good. This match was fun. The ref did a frisking of Jimmy Havoc and found some pliers. And then for some reason, like the great referee he is, he left the pliers in Jimmy Havoc's corner. Which they never even made a comeback. Like, they didn't even use them. But, like, why would you leave a weapon that you just found on a man in that man's corner? Get rid of them. Get rid of them. And then multiple times throughout this match, when the ref's back was turned, Jimmy Havoc hit the Bucks with a wet floor sign. And Penelope Ford hit the Bucks with the same wet floor sign. What's up with them abusing wet floor signs and just random fodder that they find around the ring? Like, get a chair, bring in a chair. So what if it makes a smack sound? The plastic makes a smack sound too. The ref has his back turned. He didn't see it. Why a wet floor sign? But that's all besides the point. It was a good match. I enjoyed the match. I think both of these teams are very good. Jimmy Havoc and Kip Sabian, they're kind of now getting into the flow of being a tag team. They're kind of understanding tag team psychology a lot better. And heel tag team psychology specifically. So, I think they're doing a really good job. I really do. I think this match was very fun. Matt kept selling the rib injury, and so they kept tacking the rib injury. And it was fun. It was good. But really, the main focus is on what happened after the match. So, Butcher and Blade, dressed as some weird mafia men from LA. I don't know. They were dressed in those white suits again. Those white get-ups. They run in and they attack the Young Bucks. Then FTR run in and they help the Young Bucks. But as FTR is about to finish Butcher and the Blade, the Bucks come in with the super kick party, hit Butcher and the Blade. Then FTR hits Goodnight Express, formerly known as the Shatter Machine. And then the Bucks hit the Meltzer driver, while FTR hit the Spike Pile driver on both Butcher and the Blade. So I think, if I'm not mistaken, I might be wrong here. The Bucks hit it on Blade, and FTR hit it on Butcher. They hit their moves respectively, and they kind of eyed each other like, oh, we're going to show off now? Okay, we're going to show off. Let's see who's better. And then they did it. And it was a cool little segment. I thought it was cool. I'm very excited for Young Bucks versus FTR. That is probably going to be the greatest tag team match of all time. Let's be real. Let's be real about this. Let's make no qualms about it. These are the two greatest tag teams on planet Earth today. When they eventually meet in the ring, which I think is going to be at Fyter Fest, it's going to be really good. It is going to be amazing. Amazing. It's going to be one of the best matches on the card. It's going to be one of the best matches in history. I'm not even joking about that. That's how good it's going to be. So then we follow up with a promo, or more like a backstage vignette with Taz and Brian Cage. And Taz goes on to tell Moxley, like, look, you're a pissed off, miserable son of a bitch. Bro, that was my gimmick first. You just stole my gimmick. And then he starts going off. And Brian Cage is like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Let me take it from here. Look, Moxley, you brought this on yourself. Everything that's going to happen to you, it's your fault that it's going to happen to you. And then, this was a funny moment. Me and my girlfriend couldn't help but laugh, because Brian Cage, like a spoiled child, was just like, I wish Fyter Fest was right now. I wish it was right now. Like a kid waiting for Christmas. Like, I wish Christmas was right now. That's how he was about Fyter Fest. It was funny. Me and my girlfriend laughed, okay? I know we're supposed to take this guy seriously. I know he could pop my head like a little zit. But that was funny, and I'm not even going to pretend that I did not laugh. But it was a good promo. All things considered, Brian Cage is actually a good talker. And I think that, like, it's cool that he has Taz as a mouthpiece. I actually like Taz as his mouthpiece. I think they're a really good little group right now. I think they're a good pairing. But this did show that Brian Cage, he's got some promo chops on him. So then we return from a commercial break, and Moxley cuts his own promo. And he says, look, I am judge, I am jury, and I am executioner. I'm in this business because I got demons. And the only thing that keeps my demons at bay is hurting others. And now, the path of Cage has crossed my path. So beat me if you can. Survive if you are as miserable as I am. So, I think it's very clear. Our champion is a badass. I love Moxley as the champion. I love his energy. He feels so real. He feels like a real, pissed off, miserable, badass son of a bitch. He seems awesome. I love Moxley. I really do. Then it was announced that next week we're going to see Sammy Guevara take on Matt Hardy. Brody Lee and Colt Cabana are going to take on Sonny Kiss and Joey Janela. Natural Nightmares will face FTR. Luchasaurus is going to face Wardlow in a lumberjack match. That's going to be amazing. I'm so excited. And then Moxley is going to have a sit down and have a discussion with Taz. Next week is going to be fun. So then we have a backstage vignette following up on the Britt Baker stuff from earlier. And her friend Reba finds her in a dumpster. Baker begins to yell at her, like, get on to her about how she's been in the dumpster for 5 hours. And her friend's like, oh, but you literally got abducted an hour ago. And she's like, no, it's been 5 hours. And you know what? Now it's been 6 hours. Where were you? And she's like, I was in the bathroom. And Britt's like, you don't go to the bathroom. You don't get to do that. This is a 24/7 job. You don't go to the bathroom. Get Tony on the phone. Text Tony. Where is Tony? Why is Tony not here? And she's like, you put Tony on a best friend's timeout. Text Tony. Get Tony on the phone. Just freaking out about Tony. Poor Tony Schiavone. Like, I love Britt Baker's character. I love Tony Schiavone for the way he plays off of her. I love this little thing they got going on there. I love Britt Baker. Britt Baker cracks me up. She's so willing to just do anything and get over however she can. And she's such a good heel. Like, she's such a good heel. Like, you can't go to the bathroom because this is a 24/7 job. I love her. I love Britt Baker. I love her so very much. I just want to pat her on her head. Not like a dog. That sounds insulting. Here, better said, I want to give her a hug. You know, like a socially distanced hug. Like, hug her from 6 feet away. Because she's great. Then we went into the main event of the night. And let me just tell you guys. This match. Whew. Go watch it if you did not see it. It was good. Oh man, it was good. It was Les Sex Gods, Chris Jericho and Sammy Guevara taking on Best Friends. And the thing is, Best Friends put their number one contendership up on the line in this match. And there were so many false finishes, and like believable false finishes. There was like 4 times throughout the match where I was sitting there like, oh my god, are Les Sex Gods about to beat Best Friends? Like, nah, we can't do that. And in the back of my mind, I knew, I was like, nah, AEW wouldn't do that. They wouldn't renege on that. But I'm thinking, what if something happened? What if there's a reason that the Best Friends won't be able to make Fyter Fest? Oh my god, no. I need to see Best Friends versus Kenny Omega and Hangman. I need that. The false finishes here put me on the edge of my seat. They got my heart racing. Chris Jericho is crazy talented. Sammy Guevara is crazy talented. Trent Beretta is crazy talented. And Chuck Taylor is crazy talented. Now you might be asking yourself, where was Orange Cassidy throughout all of this? Well, I will explain. So the finish of the match comes when Sammy Guevara trips over a camera wire. And that was weird. I didn't know if that was an accident at first. They got me with that one. They were like, huh, that's weird. They've never tripped over a camera wire before. Accidents happen. And then Trent is able to get the pile driver on him. That weird thing where he like pile drives him into the pinfall. Like that weird, you know what I'm talking about. You know the driver I'm talking about. Trent does it. And the cameraman who was holding the camera that Sammy tripped over was revealed to be none other than freshly squeezed himself, Orange Cassidy. He takes off the hat, he takes off the sunglasses, he takes off the shirt, and he just beats the shit out of Chris Jericho. Like, I get his gimmick is supposed to be not trying, but I love this, okay? I love the fact that, like, he lit a fire under his ass, and he beat the hell out of Chris Jericho. He just kept taking him down and wailing into him. Then he hit him with that beautiful Superman punch that he hits, sends him out of the ring, and it is revealed that Orange Cassidy and Chris Jericho will be meeting each other one-on-one at Fyter Fest. And that is a match that I did not know I needed until it was given to me. And when it was given to me, it dawned upon me that it's going to be one of the greatest things I've ever seen. I'm going to be so entertained by that match. I already know it. I cannot wait for that match. I think I'm more excited for that match than any other match on the card. And I'm not even joking about that. I love Orange Cassidy, and Chris Jericho just knows how to get anything over. Chris Jericho can get anything over. I'm going to give you a quick list of things that Chris Jericho has gotten over. A potted plant. A clipboard with a list of names on it. A hot dog. A literal hot dog. Bottles of wine. A little bit of the bubbly. He can get you to cheer for anything. It's his superpower. Chris Jericho is a magical being, and his magic revolves around the fact that if he wants you to cheer for it, you're gonna cheer for it. And he's going to make you cheer for it organically. You're not going to cheer for it because Chris Jericho's doing it. You're going to cheer for it because he convinces you that it should be cheered for. Chris Jericho very well may be the greatest of all time. I think it's a fair thing to say. I think he's proven himself. At the very least, he's in the conversation. I've always said Eddie Guerrero is the greatest in history for me. Like, when I think of the perfect pro wrestler, I think Eddie Guerrero. Chris Jericho's up there in that conversation with him. I really think he is, in terms of character work, in terms of in-ring ability. Chris Jericho has a genuine claim at that. So that's how we went off the air. This episode of Dynamite was just amazing. This episode of Dynamite was so much fun, so good. A 9.5 out of 10, easy. Easy. It was so good. It was one of the best things I've ever seen. Legitimately one of the best episodes I've ever seen. I had so much fun. I was not bored at one point throughout it. I had little nitpick criticisms here, like nitpicking Abaddon's makeup and her look or whatever. But like I said, that's just me nitpicking. That's just me criticizing something because I had the thought in the moment. It was really not that terrible of a thing. So easily a 9 out of 10, 9.5 out of 10 show. 9.5 easy. I'm okay, here's the thing. You might be wondering, if you enjoyed it that much, why don't you give it a 10 out of 10? I almost never give anything a perfect score. Ever. Because it's really hard in my mind to create perfection. I don't believe that anything is truly perfect. Now, sometimes that rule is broken. Like, Revolution was a perfect show for me. It was perfect. It would have gotten a 10 out of 10. So, I'm reluctant to give things perfect scores. Like, if I'm giving you a 9.5 out of 10, that's pretty much as perfect as you can get for me. Because I'm a nitpicker. But other than that, like, Dynamite was an amazing show this week. I had so much fun with it. Just like every week, it just flew by. So, that's all I really got to say, guys. If you did not catch Dynamite this week, I think you should go watch it. I really do think you should go and catch this episode because a lot of good things happened on this episode. It was really good. It was really, really good. Well, everybody, this has been Between the Bumps Professional Wrestling Podcast, the pro wrestling podcast where we go between the bumps in the ring to discuss match quality, storylines, wrestling news, and even make predictions in the world of professional wrestling and sports entertainment. I'm your host, Christian Marrero. Thank you for tuning in. Comment below, let me know what you liked or disliked about Dynamite this week. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Stay safe, and I'll catch you guys later.